The Diaspora Unit, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation presents Diaspora Highlights, episode number 15. This program features High Commissioners, Consulate Generals, and Guyanese in the Diaspora who continue to serve this beautiful native land of many waters, Guyana. We spotlight in this episode Mr. Hugh Saul, Guyana's Honorary Consul to Belize.
All right, well, my name is Hugh Saul. I'm a Guyanese by birth, and I was born at Victoria on the east coast of Demerara. Yeah. So I was born in Victoria. My parents, my father was from Belize, West Coast Belize, and my mother from Victoria. I went to school there on the east coast, primary school at Covert John, Anglican. And then after that, I went off to Tutorial High School in Georgetown. And for a short while, I was a school teacher at the Grove Government School on the east bank of Demerara. And then I left to go to England to study. Now, in England, I did my first degree in economics, business economics. And my second degree, a postgraduate degree, was in marketing. And then later on, I did an MBA in Massachusetts, specializing in management. And so basically I'm a management specialist, and since graduating I've worked with the United Nations and also with CEDA in Canada and the CARICOM Secretariat. And so my last posting was here in Belize, where the CARICOM Secretariat recruited and sent me here in order to restructure a Canadian finance project which dealt with the sustainable use and management of fisheries resources. And that project embraced our fisheries resources from Belize all the way through to Suriname. So all 15 CARICOM countries, plus the associate states, were part of this fisheries program. And I retired a few years ago, and then I was asked, I think that many of the Guyanese who were here in Belize, they were without a consul for some time. And so they made a recommendation that I should, since I've just retired, to take up the post of Honorary Consul. So here I am, able and willing. Well, when I was posted here by CARICOM in 1996, I came here on a 2-year assignment, and that was to revisit a Canadian finance project for the region. They were having some problems, and since I'm a management specialist, at that time I was working with Cardi at the UWI campus in Trinidad as a deputy executive director responsible for corporate services. And so CARICOM recruited me and asked me to come down here for 2 years. And I came in, I looked at the project, and I felt that there were some problems. That the problems basically was in the interpretation of the design rather than how they were implementing. And so with those recommendations, I decided to rewrite the project. And the Canadian government volunteered that if CARICOM was willing and able to attract me and recruit me, they were going to put up the resources to expand and implement that project. And so that's what they did. And they gave me a 3-year contract first. And so I redesigned the project and implemented. And then they gave me an extension. And so my 2-year assignment, actually, I've been here since 1996. Since 1996. Now, Belize, as you know, is a CARICOM member state. And it has a very unique position in CARICOM simply because it's part of Central America. And so you have the Central American countries of Nicaragua, Guatemala, Honduras, and so let's say Mexico on one hand, and then you have the CARICOM community on the other hand. And so Belize forms a sort of a bridge between Central America and the Caribbean. Now, you have quite a lot of Guyanese who are here. fortunately for Belize, many of them are highly skilled Guyanese. We have a number of attorneys at law, a few judges. We have business people. We have a lot of nurses who work here, school teachers or educators. And we have some retired people, some who are retired in the United States of America and have bought retirement homes here in Belize. And you also have Guyanese who retired from working in the Caribbean and are retired here in Belize now. And so with that type of mix of people, that gives you an extent of what the challenges are in meeting the needs of Guyanese here. As I said, luckily for us, that many of our people are, highly skilled people and professionals, and as such, we do not have a lot of negative vibes, so to speak, or confrontations of that sort here in Belize. We have a Guyana Association. There's a Guyana Association here in Belize, and it was set up some time ago, and it has been going fairly well until COVID. COVID has been very unkind to us because all of our meetings were more or less suspended, and now we are in touch by telephone, and sometimes when we meet each other on the road and so on. But we haven't had any formal meetings for nearly 2 years, and this is simply because of COVID. But as I said, that we are still in contact, right? The job of itself is very rewarding because it allows me to interact with Guyanese, and most of the work centers around consular types of activities, passport renewal, visiting people, signing life certificates, that type of thing. The business community here, some of them are interested in what's going on in Guyana and they need to establish contact. And then because we are the only consul that I know of in here in Central America, most of many of the people in Guatemala and Honduras, and to a lesser extent Mexico and Nicaragua, they're in touch with with our consulate here in order to get information. So although I'm not assigned to those countries, yet we provide information, from the business people or people wanting to go to Guyana for tourism. I should have also mentioned that there are a number of Belizeans who are studying at the University of Guyana. Quite a lot of them. Most of the young lawyers who are practicing here in Belize, the Belizeans, most of them were trained in Guyana, right? I know that about a year or two ago, they had in excess of 19 students. So that's another thing where, they want information on UG and what's going on there and so on.
Guyana and sister Caribbean community state Belize are set to foster closer symbiotic ties following their signing of a comprehensive memorandum of understanding earlier this year. Among areas of interest on which the two countries will work closely via the memorandum are agriculture and food security, tourism and climate change. Mr. Saul spoke about the friendly relationship between Guyana and
because
Belize.
When Belize was fighting for its independence, it was the Guyana embassy in New York, and the permanent representative of the United Nations that provided office space and lobbied for Belize to move towards independence. And so there's this very special place for Guyanese in the hearts of Belizeans. Then there are a lot of similarities between Guyana and Belize. Belize is a large country in land area. It's just under 9,000 square miles, but it has only 420,000 people, while we have in excess of 83,000 square miles and just in excess of 800,000 people. And then the mix, it's similar. You have, East Indians, you have Africans, you have in Belize, you have the Mayans, while we have the Amerindian, the different Amerindian groups in Guyana. You have Chinese, Portuguese, not Portuguese, we have the Portuguese, but they have the Spanish, what they call the Spanish here, and all the mixtures in between, so you have that rich diversity of peoples that exists in both countries. In addition to that, our economies are similar in that here in Belize, agriculture is the dominant part of the economy, and they produce, they produce rice, they produce a lot of cattle, a lot of beans and peas and soya bean, fisheries, shrimp, lobsters, those types of things. So it's very similar to Guyana. The only difference, and it's something that that I always remark, that here in Belize you don't have one dominant ethnic group. You see, there's no ethnic group here in Belize that occupies more than about maybe 32% of the population. And so what that does, it forces relationships among the various ethnic groups, which I think is a very positive, because it forces you, to rule. You have to, you have to reach out. And we speak English. Guyana is the only English-speaking country in South America, and here Belize is the only English-speaking country in Central America. But here in Belize, they speak Spanish. I would say in excess of 40-50% of the population are bilingual, and so you have that. And then we've all come from, we embrace the British Constitution and the British, and the European way of life, influenced to a lesser extent by America. So from that standpoint, there are other similarities in what we do and how we work.
Saul, a Guyanese who has lived in Belize for some 26 years, is also the former head of the CARICOM Fisheries Resource Assessment and Management Program. Over the years, he has been highly supportive of the work of the Guyanese Association in Belize.
And then we have a treasurer. His wife happens to be a treasurer. They're business people here. They have a manufacturing operation that do clothing, T-shirts, and those types of things. You have the vice president is he's a barrister. He's a attorney at law. Cave, Johan C. Cave. You have there's a management committee that sort of runs the thing. And what I do, I attend all the meetings. I attend the meetings, in order to let them know, based on the mandate that we have from Georgetown, is that I should be interacting with the association. So I go to all the meetings. Most of the activities that we have here are centered around Republic celebrations in February and independence in May. Those are most of the things. And then we have, little picnics and what they call family days. We have a lot of family days. because of the way Belize, because of the topography of the country and the way how the population is spread out. A lot of the Guyanese are in different parts. They're not centered, say, in Belize City. Not all of them. Some of them are on the Keys. You have a number of small islands which they call Keys here, and on those Keys, some of them have hospitals and so on. So you have a lot of the nurses. They're stationed there, or some of them are in the far off parts like Dangriga, and so on. So because of this, it is difficult, for one of the challenges that we face is to find a way outside of when we have these Guyanese cultural and fun days, to find a way in which we can sort of engage those people, right? And so one of the things that the association has been discussing is whether you can have instead of having one centralized association, to have mini groups in different parts. But in some cases you don't have enough people in order to for the groups to function effectively. So we still have that centralized type of that type of operation. As I said, we see each other very regularly, and in my own case, I meet with Guyanese, because nearly every month people come in to have their passports renewed, or they have problems. So sometimes they expect the consul to visit them in hospital, the usual thing, eh? So I do a little babysitting sometimes. We have that, and then there are a couple of Guyanese who are actually in prison also that you visit, that type of thing. But the whole idea basically is to ensure that the Guyanese who are here, that they know that there's an office, that's two, that I'm available, and that if they have any problems on issues that they can, although some of them take advantage of that, they want to come to you on Sundays because I work from home, and so because I work from home, they Sundays, Saturday in the nights, and so on. So although you try to dissuade them, yet it's difficult to say no sometimes, because sometimes they're traveling from long distances in order to be here, and because of their work time. So it's flexible. And so in the true Guyana spirit, of give and take, and bending backwards, we sort of, get along.
Mr. Saul's appointment as Guyana's Honorary Consul in Belize represents an important step in the further deepening of relations between the two CARICOM countries, right? And to ensure that nationals of Guyana residing in Belize are afforded the opportunity of consular services.
And so we have a lot of projects in Guyana, and then Suriname is the second largest, and so I used to travel to those countries. So when you're so near, you always, pass through. Plus the fact that, with all the cassava bread and the calcium from Victoria, you
the best. Oh yes, the best. Talking about calcium and cassava bread and so though, do we have a lot of Guyanese produce in Belizean market?
You don't have it. The only thing that you have in large that is sold is the Guyana rum. Huh? You have a Guyana rum, but things like cashew and those things, it is only when people travel home, or in the United States, you're just an hour and a half or so from Miami and from Texas, and so the Guyanese travel all of them. So when they come back, they bring in the stocks from the U.S. But you don't have, We had a fair a couple of years ago where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs sent down to us through the Guyana Marketing Corporation and other institutions there, like the rum companies and so on. we had a booth. We had set up a booth and so on, and then we had also prepared Guyanese food, and it was a very nice. It was a CARICOM. The theme was a CARICOM theme, and so for the Guyanese, we put up we had a stall, and we got a lot of help from the ministry. They sent a lot of stuff down to us, from all the seasoning, all the spices, and so on, and the casrip and the cook-up seasoning and the fried rice, and but you know it all, eh? But that's how it comes. I have not seen it being sold in the supermarkets because Belize, they have a similar type, the small industry here. They also produce similar things, but not the same, not for the same food type, because we would make cook-up and they make rice and beans, right? We would make metaji, and they make something called sere. You understand? So what I mean, the inputs are different, but when you look at it, the base is more or less the same. But we've had those types of things, right? Where we've had stalls and we bring in people, and then we have we cook Guyanese meals like pepper pot and roti and usual thing. And the first year that we had it, all our stuff was sold out before they were halfway through, because everybody wanted to taste the pepper pot and get those type of things going. Huh? But as I said, most of the inputs are people get them from the States. There was we have an agreement between Guyana and Belize as far as the rice trade is concerned. That although Belize is declared self-sufficient, but whenever they have a drop in their production, the basic understanding is that Guyana's rice would come in. But I think the government had, under this arrangement, they've told Belize that they would not sort of dump Guyanese rice on the market because we produce high quality rice at a lower cost than Belize. Most of their rice farmers are what they call milpa, or small farmers who produce rice under rain-fed conditions. Right, that's what we used to do in Guyana in the 50s and 40s and 60s, so it's rain-fed agriculture. But in order to protect them, what the government has done is to put this block more or less on imported rice to protect the small milpa farmers.
Tune in again next Wednesday when we present to you episode 16 of Diaspora Highlights, courtesy of the Diaspora Unit, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. So long.